Hello, listeners, and welcome to another episode of You Make It Happen. This is going to be a two-part episode. It's about ADD or ADHD, numbing and coping skills, and a little bit of story time because, story time is fun. So look for the second half of this episode next month. I know I haven't been publishing frequently lately, and I got to be honest and tell you that this takes a lot of my energy. And I haven't had a lot of energy or time to dedicate to it lately. And the podcast requires promotion and energy and executive function that sometimes people like me with ADD don't always have or don't have enough of. So here we are, and it's on a 1-month schedule now. So hopefully I can keep up with that. And if you guys have any comments or questions or want to see it more frequently, I'll need those DMs or emails or comments on social media or anything to tell me, hey, we want more episodes, or we want this, or we want that. And we like it more frequently or whatever. But right now, my energy is waning and I'm doing the best I can. So if you don't already, follow the podcast on social media. I don't update Facebook super often, but I do update Instagram and TikTok probably the most frequently. And I do sometimes make these little funny compilation videos of anxious attachment or avoidant attachment or whatever I can think of and whatever I can think of that would be gripping on social media, which usually goes on Instagram and TikTok. So I'm Missy the Traveler on Instagram, Missy.Traveler on TikTok. Follow along. I'd love to hear your comments, hear your feedback, hear your episode suggestions, hear your ideas, hear what you'd like to see more of on the podcast or hear more of on the podcast, or if you appreciate the videos the most, or if you're like, hey, why aren't you on YouTube Shorts or whatever. So let's get into the episode. I know I have chatted with y'all in previous shows about ADD and ADHD. And I'm not going to get too far down that rabbit hole because honestly, I'm not qualified enough to get too far down that rabbit hole. And I only have minimal research on the matter, unlike the trauma healing research, which I've done, which is more extensive, although still not as much as, let's say, I don't know, a trauma therapist, a professional. This podcast is no substitute for getting mental health help. Please, please look for professional mental health help. And if you're interested in coaching, relationship coaching, that sort of thing, because I can't coach under specific disattachment or depression or anxiety or generalized anxiety disorder or ADD because those are all psychological disorders. But if you're interested in general coaching, reach out to me. Circling back, let's talk about ADD. And one of the features of ADD is executive function paralysis. So what does that mean? Sounds like a lot of big fancy words to some people. Other people are like, I know what it means. Why are you explaining this to me? So just bear with me. So for one of the people that are like, I don't know what that means. It basically means you're overwhelmed with decision making. So executive function is like the big, higher level cognitive type skills that your brain has, like to manage your emotions, manage your behaviors, manage your thoughts. So executive function overwhelm is like struggling or difficulty prioritizing stuff, making choices, following through, focusing, emotion regulation, and sometimes even sensory overload. So what does that look like? It looks like walking into a room, seeing 57 things that need to be done, with your brain racing, going, oh my God, I need to do that, and I need to do that. Well, I need to do, but in order to do this, I need to start this, and in order to start this, I need to start this. And I'm talking fast kind of on purpose, but it's also kind of how my brain functions with the ADD or ADHD, however you want to look at it. I don't really have the hyperactivity, so I just say ADD. And it can be overwhelming. So you walk into a room, you see 57 things that need to be done. Your brain, when you have the ADD or the ADHD, automatically looks around and has those 57 things like not in order, just bouncing around in your head, and you notice this and this and this and this and this, and your brain and your thoughts bounce so quickly that sometimes we can get overwhelmed with the choices, with the decisions, with the thoughts, with the feelings that come up because you're thinking, oh, I feel lazy because I haven't done any of these 57 things, or this is overwhelming because of X, Y, and Z. Or I'm mad at my partner because they haven't done any of these 57 things, and I asked them to do these 3 things yesterday, and I asked them to do these 5 things 2 years ago, and it still hasn't happened, or whatever. So when you walk into this room, sometimes our executive function can be overwhelmed, and it's too difficult to manage our feelings or manage our focus or manage any of the above, prioritizing. So what happens for me is, I'll give you an example. I'll walk into a room, I'll see those 57 things that need to be done, and I'll go, oh my God, I can't. I can't with this. And I'll sit down and watch some sort of streaming service because I'm overwhelmed, because my brain can't handle it. And for the longest time, and this is a myth about ADD and depression, it's not your fault. So the myth is, it's your fault. You're lazy. You can't do enough. It's all you. If you just tried harder. That's just not true. Because, and I can tell you from firsthand experience, I mean, for obvious reasons, yes, but also from firsthand experience, I started and tried a new ADHD medication, and wow, that really helped with my executive function. It really helped with my focus and my ability to prioritize and just get started on things and not abandon projects halfway through or abandon tasks after like walking into the garage. Oh, I'm going to scoop the cat boxes. And instead I walk in there and start getting laundry and do something else. No, I went in there to scoop the cat boxes and I scooped the cat boxes. And it only took me 2 minutes or whatever. The point of this is it's not your fault. Some of us with neurodivergent brains, which is a lot of us, let's be honest, and probably most of y'all listening to this episode because you're interested in the subject matter or you're just interested to learn about it. Let's say your friend has ADD, because lots and lots of people do, and I do, and I didn't know I did for the longest time. 30, 40 years as an adult, no one ever officially diagnosed me with ADD or ADHD until the last couple years. I digress. And this is part of having ADD. I get off topic. But let's go back to talking about it's not your fault. So I tried this new ADD med, circling back to that, and suddenly my executive function was not so paralyzed, was not so impeded, was not ruined, for lack of a better word. I always thought it was my depression. I thought my depression zaps my energy. It stops me from doing things. It makes me want to go numb. It makes me numb out with my favorite numbing mechanism, which is often TV. And it used to be food, and I'm proud that I've gotten a good handle on that, although I still numb out with food occasionally. It's mostly TV that I use to numb. And my phone. I am really guilty about using my phone. And little side note, little side anecdote, I gotta say, the phone is addictive. The phone is bad for your mental health. We all know that, right? We logically know our phones aren't good for us, and yet we're spending so much time on them. It's designed to be addictive. Again, I'm going to say it one more time. This is not your fault. This is one of those things that's designed to trap your attention. It's designed to suck you in. It is appealing on so many different levels for whatever it is that you're getting sucked into on your phone, whether it's doom scrolling or Facebook or social media or Instagram or Snapchat or texting, or in my case, solitaire, which is just so engaging. And it's designed to be like Las Vegas style casinos, which again are also designed to grasp your attention. They're designed to bring you in. They're designed to keep your brain engaged, especially the neurodivergent brain. I don't know if they're especially designed for that, but they happen to work especially effectively on neurodivergent brains. And the solitaire thingy popping up and saying, oh, you've won 50 cents because you played 75 games. Oh yeah, that wasn't a waste of my time. I only spent 4 hours and earned 50 cents. That's great. So ADD is real. Executive function overwhelm is real. Yes, depression can be contributing to your lack of energy. It can be lack of energy, which can be contributed to by depression. And if you have ADD, or you might suspect you might have ADHD or ADD, that can be a big source of executive function overwhelm. I didn't realize how big it was until I started some ADD medication. And then I realized, wow, this is not my fault. This is not my fault. This is a neurobiological disorder that I have that is causing me to be paralyzed sometimes, oftentimes. I don't know why I struggle with this more on days off. I talk to a lot of people with ADD and they struggle with it at work. Their biggest struggle is, oh, I got to take my ADD medication for work, or I got to, do this and do this and do this, and then I can prioritize and focus at work. I don't have any problem when I'm at work. Like, I never had any problem at school. Like, there's a reason I have an advanced doctorate degree is because I did really well in school. And then I found out from my therapist many, many, many years later that hyperfocus is one of the symptoms of ADD. I'm like, oh, that's why I did so well in school. Because I'm naturally gifted. Okay, maybe. Let's have a little moment of immodesty, if you will. But really more the fact that I can hyperfocus and I can go down a rabbit hole for hours and hours and hours. So I hear you. And medication is not for everybody. And I didn't try medication until I was 42 years old. And I've known about my ADD for several years. I've had it way, way longer. Didn't know about it. Didn't know that somebody who can hyperfocus and is super good at school and reasonably intelligent can have ADD. I just knew that my brain worked super fast, and I thought that was my anxiety, and I thought that I was either lazy or severely depressed, and that's why I couldn't do stuff or get stuff started or manage stuff or focus. Instead, I would hyperfocus or just get overwhelmed or numb. All right, we're going to switch into the numbing topic now. We're going to segue. This is a good segue for numbing. So, what is numbing? And I've talked about this in previous episodes before, but I think it bears repeating. I'm going to go over it again. Numbing is when you are either subconsciously or consciously not feeling your emotions or trying not to feel your emotions, trying not to feel your feelings. It is not always intentional. And I believe from the research that I've done and everything that I've gleaned about psychology that everybody does it to some degree or another. Whether you're spending hours a day on your phone, or you're scrolling, or you're on social media, or you're addicted to porn, or you're addicted to gambling, or addicted to drugs or alcohol, or you just have a problem with any of those things, or shopping addiction. And here's some rarer ones I'm going to go through. How about addicted to work? Oh yeah. Yes. No, really? I hear you. You're like, no, that's not a thing. That's a thing. You can be a workaholic. Or let's say your definition of a workaholic is somebody who's working 100-hour weeks or 120-hour weeks and never home and gone 16 hours a day. And I don't do that. I only work 8 hours a day. But I'm constantly checking my email at home for work. I'm constantly responding to this about work. I'm constantly thinking about work. Oh yeah. Did I just call you out? I'm sorry. I mean, I'm not sorry, but I am sorry because I know how it feels. You know what I mean? Sorry, not sorry, because I've been that person that was all about their job, all about their life. And that was my identity because I worked in law enforcement. So I only hung out with people that worked in law enforcement. I only dated people that worked in law enforcement. Stupid decision on my part, by the way. That's a little side note. But anyway, live and learn. So that can be your whole life if you throw yourself into work. And what's a way to distinguish if that's you? How about you can't sit still? And I don't mean physically sit still, but I mean you can't be with yourself. Let's say you have 3 weeks off. I know that's an inordinate amount of time off, but let's say you have 3 weeks off. Can you sit alone, sometimes literally, physically, and sometimes figuratively, with yourself? Can you simply be with yourself? If the answer to that is no, and you struggle taking 3 weeks of time off, maybe 3 weeks of time off that isn't jam-packed with travel and excursions and trips and home repairs and things that keep you busy. Because I'm talking about just taking time with yourself. If you are not capable or that thought scares you, yep, you might be numbing with work. You might be a workaholic. And I don't particularly like that word or that phrase. I think it just has a negative connotation. I don't think it necessarily suits somebody who is working too much. But let's look at somebody who's eligible for retirement and doesn't retire. I know several people like this in my life who are not capable of being alone with themselves or even with their partner. And it's not just being alone. They can't even be with their partner alone because they don't know who they are without work. And it's just a job, but not to them. To them, that's their identity. To them, that's who they are. They don't want to stop working because that means they would have to sit with themselves, be introspective, take time, which could lead to a mental breakdown, which could lead to psychosis, which could lead to discovering, oh shit, I've got a personality disorder. Or, oh shit, I'm not a decent person. I need to really work on this. Or worse, it can lead to suicidal ideation. And that's really scary for me, for a lot of people. I don't want you or anybody I know or anybody at all to be suicidal because you're sitting with yourself because you're forced to. So if that's you, if that's your numbing mechanism, then go with it. Or if anything is your numbing mechanism, and the alternative is suicide or suicidal ideation, use the numbing. And I'm not saying this is healthy. I'm not saying you should numb in general. What I am saying is it's better than the alternative. So I want to back up a little bit and talk about a book. And this is going to be your book recommendation for this episode. And the backing up part is referring to numbing and how it can help us or how it can save our life sometimes. And the book recommendation, which is related, and I'll tell you about not verbatim quote in the book shortly, is Recovery, Freedom from Our Addictions by Russell Brand. Excellent book. Even if you've never experienced addiction, this relates to numbing. It relates to numbing, which is something we as humans all, for all intents and purposes, do, as far as I know. Intents. In case you were wondering, yes, I do know the proper definition of that, not intense. Yeah, anyway. I had a therapist comment on that once, and I was like, oh, yeah, I do speak proper English, occasionally. I mean, I screw up stuff as often as the next guy, but... So this book was particularly persuasive, I think, in the very beginning, and I listened to the audiobook, and I got it from the library, so get it for free or buy it cheap. It's available used online, or you can get it from the library. I prefer the library because free is best. So this book, in the very beginning, he says something to the effect of, have you used drugs or alcohol to numb? And I don't know if he uses the word numb, but have you used drugs or alcohol to, avoid your pain, avoid your emotions, which is all the same thing as numbing, by the way. And then he goes on to say, well done you. British. Love British. Love Brits. Love the culture. Love the food. Love the colloquialisms, idioms. Anyway. So he goes on to praise the reader for finding drugs and alcohol. And in your case, it might be work or porn or gambling or over-involvement in other people's lives or perfecting your yard or whatever. Whatever you do to numb or to not feel your feelings, which we as humans do sometimes, even those of us who are good at this, that's me not saying I'm good at this because I'm still practicing this. This is really, really hard. Feeling your feelings and sitting with your emotions and not using something to numb. I just told you guys earlier, I'm not good at it. Like, I'm on my phone way too much. I've gotten a good hold of my TV numbing only to replace it with my phone. That's so unhealthy. I'll give you guys a little peek behind the curtain before I swing back to the thing I was just talking about. I get a notification from my phone, which I can set it so it doesn't do this. I can change the setting. But I get a notification on my phone every Monday that says how much time I've spent on my phone, or every Sunday, how much time I've spent on my phone per day on average for the last week. And man, I was embarrassed this week because it said 4 hours a day. And I was thinking, oh, I was in physical pain, period cramps. Oh, I was in emotional pain because I was dealing with my ex. I was, this, and I was this, and I was this. And I had a bunch of excuses that I kind of told myself when really it's me numbing. It's me not wanting to feel my feelings. And I did it consciously because now I'm aware of it. And that's a first step in the right direction, is just noticing when you want to numb or when you are numbing, when you're avoiding your feelings, when you're avoiding pain or avoiding just discomfort. It's not always even pain. Sometimes it's just discomfort. Like sometimes I just want to avoid my anxiety and my fear because I lost a primary client recently, and and that was a big source of my income. And I've experienced a lot of fear and anxiety and nervousness and overwhelm. all the things that we don't necessarily like feeling and the things that I haven't been feeling most of my life. So I do want to tell you guys, everybody listening, that you're doing a good fucking job. And how do I know that? Because we're all doing our best, right? For the most part, most of the time. And feeling your feelings is super fucking hard. Let's say let's take me for an example. I'm in my 40s. 40s, right? That is 40 years of not feeling my feelings, 40 years of stuffing them down, 40 years of suppressing, of repressing, of being told as a child, which you carry into adulthood, in case we haven't discussed that, we have in many, many episodes, being told that bad feelings are not okay. So I want to wrap this one up here because I want to save some fun content for the second half of this episode. And I also want to do something that my friend and fellow podcaster Lisa Ellison recommended, and I think her recommendation was amazing, which is thank you to the fans and followers and people that have liked, written about, or asked questions for the podcast. I want to take some time to name some people. I want to thank Lisa, Danielle, Avril, Chris, Aaron, LaDonna, and another Danielle. I just want to take time to shout out to the fans and followers and people that have commented and engaged with me and or with the podcast in one way, shape, or form. I appreciate you, and I am grateful that you appreciate the show, and I appreciate you. Okay, look for the second half of this episode on the next release date, which, as y'all know now, is going to be about next month. And as always, work your shit out. Please don't do it on other people. I beg you. And we'll see you next time. Thanks so much for listening.